going to be taking you through a demo of our platform to show three important parts. One, how do you visualize and operationalize the entire production process? And think about this from the point of view of a production line manager or an operator and a process control engineer collaborating to operate the production process. Number two, how do you build and maintain a single source of truth? There is a huge problem in the industry where if something changes on the factory floor, you do not have a good enough record of that so that you can run simulations on that, or understand what has really changed and communicate that changes across a team. So I'll show you how you can very easily do that without needing sophisticated tools. And three, finally, bringing flexibility for your administrators to configure and manage the platform in a really easy way so that you bring the power of the entire platform to whatever you're doing on the process line. So let's jump into the demo. This is the Kelvin Maps UI, as we call it. The Kelvin Maps product is the face of the Kelvin platform. What you're seeing here is a dashboard view of your entire operation. So you can have different process lines located in different facilities across the world. For example, here in Denver, I have three chemical process lines. You can think about this as a conglomerate. If you want to visualize your entire operations, you can do it here in one screen. Each of these cards is showing some statistics on how many assets there are in a process, what is the OEE metrics, what kind of alarms you have on them as well. Down below here, you have a similar view of all the assets in our organization. You can filter these assets through a number of different criteria. So I'm going to pick the one that has the most critical alarms. So here I see that extruder 1 on chemicals 01 production line has 4 critical alarms, and this is something that I should pay attention to. So it's an easy way for someone to keep track of all the different types of alarms and metrics that are across different facilities and across different production lines, and which ones are the ones that you should be paying attention to first. Now let's switch to the production overview. This is a different kind of overview where you have a lot more details into each of those production lines. So as you can see here, each of these vertical lanes is a production process. I have a few of them over here, and you can have different kind of metrics showing within each of them. So you can show the current production SKU being worked on in the existing process, the shift name, the team that's working in the current shift, alarms that are being fired off across the different assets in your process line, the important metrics like OEE, as well as recommendations on how to address some of those alarms and metrics. So it's a very comprehensive view of a particular process line. So if you're a production line manager or a operator even, or sometimes a process control engineer who is maintaining multiple different lines, you can see all of these metrics in a single dashboard in a very easy manner. Another thing which is cool about this is, sometimes operators want to have just very minimal information. So you can go and customize the screen for the information that you want to keep on top, and you can even move around these metrics. So it's a very intuitive and easy to use interface, which is also very familiar because all of the icons that you see here for alarms and also the ones that we are going to show you later in the demo, all of them are ISA compliant. They comply with the way symbols should be shown from the ISA standards. They comply in the way that alarms should be shown in the ISA standards. So this really brings a familiarity for your operators, for your production line managers who are used to looking at SCADA and HMI systems, to very quickly get familiar with the Kelvin platform and start getting value out of it from day one. Let's jump into one of these lines. So what you're seeing here is a next level view of the line. It shows you how the process logically looks like. So material is flowing into the silo, it goes into the blender, it goes into a few other assets on the process, and it finally goes into the pack out. For each of these assets, we show you metrics at the bottom over here. And for each of those assets, we also show what are the alarms and what state of alarms they are. So for example, on extruder, we have 4 critical alarms, but on silo, it's just an informational alarm. And once again, you can see a summary view of the OEE indicators at a process line view. So this view again is very useful for a production line manager or an operator to see what is going on in the process, what are the different metrics each of these assets are showing, and which alarms I should pay attention to. Now, these OEE indicators are being calculated automatically as the data flows in through the OT network and through bridges into our platform. But in case you have data which is missing, or you have connection that you lost, or you have devices on the edge which do not send information in a timely manner, you can also upload data manually on a per shift, per asset basis, and the Kelvin Maps platform automatically does the OEE calculation for that particular shift. Similarly, if you do not have data coming into your platform for any given reason, or if you want to run some sort of simulation. So for example, you can create a copy of this chemicals 01 line. You do not need to connect it to any network, but you can simply upload some offline diagnosis data in an Excel file, and it's going to go in and hit it against the models, the failure models, the process view of your production process, and generates the right kind of metrics and alarms for you to look at and say what would have happened in that scenario. So once again, it's a very easy and simple way to use in order to visualize your process, in order to visualize what exactly is going on at a given time, in order to operate your process in the most efficient manner. Now, let's jump into one of these alarms and look at what kind of information you can get there. So here is a overview of all the alarms under chemicals 01 line. If you click into one of these alarms, you can see a number of different details over here. So we show the failure modes, we show possible failure reason, and we also show you recommended actions. Now, what is this alarm? This alarm is a vibration anomaly on the extruder, and this was generated by a failure detection model that is part of the Kelvin platform by default. This model has been trained on 25 to 30 years of failure data across a number of different asset classes and components in the process manufacturing space. So it's a rich set of data that is leading to the model's prediction, and it very accurately identifies what kind of failure modes you have and what would you do in order to correct such a failure on a particular process line. From here, as an operator or as a user of the platform, I can go and communicate with my colleagues. So for example, I can go look into this alarm where I pinged my colleague Andre and asked him if you have any guidance on how I can investigate and resolve the alarm, and he pointed me to some people who may be able to help. So not only are you able to get a complete view of the alarm and the reasons for it, you're also able to collaborate and communicate with your team from within the platform and from within the alarm itself, so that you do not lose context of what you're doing. So once again, we are enabling a complete process mapping. We are enabling you to see the right kind of metrics, and we are enabling you to collaborate with your teammates in order to resolve issues and make sure that the process is operating in the most efficient manner. Just to summarize, I've shown you how to look at a particular process line. I've shown you how to look at a summary overview of your entire enterprise, and I've shown you also how to look at a specific process line and what you can do with the alarms. Now the fun doesn't stop there. When you have an alarm and when you have received some information about a particular asset, you may want to go and investigate more data about that asset, and you may want to go in and make a control change on that particular asset so that you change the behavior of that equipment. Maybe you are going to reduce some speed, or maybe you're going to change some kind of humidity settings around in that equipment, and so on. So let's look at what happens when you want to do such actions. What are the options available in the platform? Let's enter one such asset over here. So this is the next level view of an asset once you click into it from a process line view. Here you can see we have a 3D rendering of it. You can click on pin on that particular component on an asset, and you can see the metrics associated with it. So for example, here you are seeing a vibration sensor on a centrifugal pump, and it is showing you a bunch of different metrics. You can also sort of have a 3D view of it, rotate and see which other components are showing alarms and what is the metrics that is being shown on a particular component over there. Now, you may want to look at the data of or associated with these alarms, with these anomalies that are being caused, and say, what is the kind of action that I want to take, and what are the kind of information that I want to get before I make some kind of control change on it. So here we have more information in terms of which kind of fatigue was caused by what kind of action on a particular component inside the asset. So as you can see, there's a lot more detailed information being provided, a lot more detailed analysis being provided in order for you to take any action on that. Here is another view of an analysis. This is basically a fast Fourier transform of the vibration analysis on a piezo sensor. As you can see, it is being done at a 1x RPM. So not only are you being told that there is a vibration anomaly, you are also able to see which component exactly is that vibration anomaly on. You're also able to go in at the next level and see a fast Fourier transform of that vibration analysis, and based on that, now you may want to make a decision. Another interesting view of how you can look at data in a more detailed manner is the data viewer. So the data viewer allows you to load metrics from multiple asset components and multiple metrics at the same time. What's the benefit of this? If you want to correlate or want to hypothesize about some particular behavior that you're seeing across different sensors, across different equipment, you're able to see that in one single view. I showed you a graph analysis in a previous view over here, but the data viewer allows you to go much deeper. Here you can actually zoom into a particular time duration. You can get more granular information on a particular metric. You can load normalized data, for example. You can reset the zoom levels. You can load data across different time frames. So a lot of different options over here for an expert, like a reliability expert or a maintenance expert, or even an operator of an equipment, to go in and analyze the data and get the precise information before you are able to go and do a control change. Now, we looked at the alarms, we looked at the asset details, we looked at the data. Now we want to do a control change. Let's go in. This is a view that shows all the asset settings across a particular asset. Some of them are only readable, some of them are writable. Now, if I want to make a control change on a particular metric, let's say that I want to change the humidity metric. From here, I can directly go in and enter a new value. I can enter in, say, for example, I want to set it to 70. I want to give a timeout of 10 seconds before retrying 2 times. And I'm going to submit this control change. If you had to do this on the factory line, you would have to go to a particular equipment's HMI and do this particular action over there. With the Kelvin UI, you're able to do this from a laptop for any asset, for any process, for any plant in your facility, in your enterprise, all from one single screen. So that's the power of being able to do control from the Kelvin collaborative control platform. Now, we talked about how to do control, but you would be wondering what happened to my previous control operations. So here you can see a history of all the control operations that have been done in the past. You can see that one of them failed. There are a bunch of them pending in the queue that will be implemented. But most importantly, you can also see an audit trail. Who requested the control change? When was it requested? And what was the status of it? So not only are you able to do the control change for all your assets across your facility, across your enterprise from one single screen, you're also able to get a summary view of all the control changes that were made and be sure that you are able to audit it or even learn from it on, when you made a particular control change, what was the impact on it, go back to the data viewer screen, look at more details and so on. That's the power of the Kelvin platform. Now, let me summarize it once again. We looked at a dashboard view. It gives you a complete analysis of, which are the troublesome processes or assets that you need to pay attention to. We looked at a production view to see, which are some of the most important production lines that we should be paying attention to. We looked at details of a production process. We looked into an asset and alarms, and we went in and made a control change finally after reviewing a particular alarms analysis and data, and you were able to make the control change from one single screen for all the assets. That's what Kelvin is delivering in terms of bringing an end-to-end process for visualizing your entire process and making a control change. And being able to help you to run your processes efficiently.